Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. Well, I'm a walking case of the blues. Saw a dollar yesterday, but the wind blew it away. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. Nobody calls me friend. It's sad the shape I'm in. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. Well, it's lonesome in this old town. Everybody puts me down. I'm a face without a name, just walking in the rain. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston.
Anti-Afros, Bengalis. Everyone keeps asking, where's Dumpsey Derell? I have no idea. Going back to Houston? Involuntarily, perhaps? He keeps talking about how, oh, I got to go out of town. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. I got to go to Dallas. I got to go wherever he says, New Orleans or where, Louisiana, wherever. Always acting like he's got something to do that's important. Well, I'm sure he does. Whether it's legal, that's another story. Dumpsey has come on here making all these claims about I'm the one in trouble. No, he's the one in trouble. I wouldn't have access to what was removed. Dumpsey would have access to what was removed in that raid because that's a legal requirement. If there's a search warrant, law enforcement is required to give you a receipt of whatever they've taken. But he spent so much time telling the world when the state of Texas placed him under disciplinary review and reprimanded his license, which he kept saying he wasn't reprimanded. And I showed you proof, as you see here, the license was reprimanded, and it was reprimanded for Medicaid fraud. I don't care how he tries to couch it, it's Medicaid fraud. But I got something I want to show you. Talk about ready to be blown away. I wanted to show you something. And I want to give you an example of what happens when you participate in fraud in this state. Now, I want you to really think about this because it very well could have gone down for Dumpsey like this eventually. Now, what I'm going to show you is a possibility of what could have happened. Again, I can't say, but it's a possibility. And I want you to check this out. Don't worry about the screen if it moves too fast. You can always go back and read this, but I'm going to summarize this on a different screen. I just want to briefly introduce you to what I'm going to tell you about the possibilities when it comes to Dumpsey. So this is someone here in California, and I explained the differences between California and Texas. We are a public investigation state. So if you see here, it gives this person's name, Joan Porter, and you see some other folks here. Accusation, which means someone has filed a complaint. It has yet to be fully investigated, but there is enough merit to warrant the process to be underway. There has not been a final decision. It's got to go through administrative review. An administrative law judge has to render a final decision. Both sides get to weigh in, and that process has not been completed. So it doesn't matter here in this state. Once you have received an accusation, your name gets up on the Summer Jam screen. So for years, Dumpsey has been saying, I was under review. He's a liar. Texas is a state that does not have public investigation. They don't hide anything here. If you're being accused and there's even potential merit, you're going up on the Summer Jam screen. But in Texas, you're not going to know about anything unless the person is disciplined. And that is why Dumpsey went through that whole process for his Medicaid case, his Medicaid fraud case, and kept saying, I was the one. When in fact, he was the one. He didn't come and tell you when they disciplined him. I came out and told you, look, everyone, look what happened to Dumpsey. So he's disappeared. He's probably trying to figure out how he can come back and blame me and Rev G and level false allegations against us and say that we're in trouble when in fact he's the one under scrutiny. So this therapist, Joan Porter, let me go ahead and skip to the summary so we'll make it easy for everybody to see. Had a therapy license issued in 2008. There was a period of alleged Medicaid fraud. It's called Medi-Cal here in California. Every state gets to rename the program for low-income recipients, federal funding for medical care, for dental care, all these types of services that are medical-based come from the federal government. Here it's called Medi-Cal. It's Medicaid funds. So they're alleging between 2017, 2018, she engaged in fraud. Hasn't been proven yet. They initiated the investigation. You see the date here, 2018. There was a warrant issued 2022. The complaint was filed in criminal court February 2024, 7 felonies. She has a no contest plea on 1 felony conviction, May 2024. Licensing board requests an explanation from her. I'll explain that in a minute. In December 6, 2024, and then the licensing board filed the accusation May 12, 2025. So let me explain. Whenever you are convicted of a crime and you are licensed or you have any sort of certificate issued from the state, you are required to inform them within 30 days of that conviction, or you were in violation. The clerk of the court in every county in this state sends all convictions to every board. It takes a little time for them to get it and figure it out, as you can see here, but you're required to report that on your own, and she didn't do that. So that's another reason why they brought her license under review. That adds to what she did. Now, if you've been reading the screen, you see what she did. Let's go through what she did. Again, I'm going to summarize it. She billed for sessions that she never provided services for, just like Dumpsey D. Derell. Among the outrageous acts was billing for 23 therapy sessions in one day. And she did that on at least 2 occasions. And then here's the one that really drew my attention. And you can read this on your own, but I'm telling you, she saw a client one time and billed 51 times after seeing the person once. Remember I was telling you about that? That Dumpsey probably wanted them to come in once so he can make sure he got all their information. Now, it's going to depend on what kind of program you're working with. If you have access to people's medical records, you don't need to do that. But that person's going to need to come in so you can make sure you have all their information. I would not need to do anything like that. If I was a crook, I wouldn't need to do anything like that because I can go get their medical records in the system. But obviously, this person didn't have that information, so the person needed to come in and verify everything. So got the one session and then billed for 51 more sessions. And other atrocious acts, billing for services she didn't provide. Now, here's the thing with Dumpsey. The licensing board brought him under review and disciplined him, but that does not stop the government from doing what they want to do. That does not end the process. They're not beholden to the licensing board to stave off criminal charges. We don't know what happened. They could have went ahead and launched their own investigation. Look at the timeline here. Look how much time has elapsed between the billing 2018 and when they filed the complaint. Look at that. How many years is that, people? The investigation was initiated in 2018 and the arrest warrant didn't come until 4 years later. And then you have 2 years later, the conviction. More than 2 years later. So much for those subjects who engaged in the Social Security criminal activities, thinking because they haven't been charged that nothing will ever happen. Same thing with Dumpsey, saying it was all closed out. I haven't been charged with the crime. How do we know nothing else was looked into? How do we know this didn't prompt further investigation? How do we know Dumpsey didn't continue doing what he was doing? How do we know what else has gone down? The answer is we don't. It's ridiculous for him to come on and say it's all over. It's even more ridiculous to run around and say it was only $8,000. How do people know it was only $8,000? You really think if someone got caught stealing $8,000, that was it? That was it? Nothing else? They only got caught stealing what they got caught stealing and they did nothing else? I don't believe that. They only audited for the purposes of this complaint. We're talking about Texas with Dumpsey. They only looked at that period in time that they disciplined him for. They can't stop Medicaid. They can't stop the federal government from digging deeper for auditing. And you don't know whether or not the board sent that information off. You don't know whether those 3 complaint numbers resulted in another complaint. Maybe those 3 people or any one of those 3 people filed another complaint with the feds. The options are limitless. We don't know any of it. There could be something else. There could be a whole other set of criminal behaviors. Only Dumpsey can tell us as it stands. But I would never rest on my laurels with something that Dumpsey did. He stole money. And then you have these freaks running around like Carrie Ann laughing about insurance fraud. She laughed. She said she was glad he stole the money. I'm not surprised because she's engaging in insurance fraud. As soon as we said we're filing a complaint against her, she said that she's going to file a disability claim. That's fraud. She's planning to file a disability claim because she's the one causing trouble for herself. That is insurance fraud. Just like what Dumpsey did is insurance fraud. And then she didn't even care when that dude gunned down that CEO of United Healthcare. She thought that was funny. She thought that was deserved. Let me tell you, folks, just because the cops don't come to your house with a battering ram on day 2 after you've been caught doesn't mean they're not going to track you down. I'm sure this therapist thought nothing was going to happen. Unfortunately, there are a lot of crooks who were trusted with the honor system and they violated it. Therapists are trusted with the honor system to only bill for services that you provide. Do you think that this therapist thought she was going to be caught? Probably didn't even think about it. She just was billing and billing and billing, thought she was going to get away with it. Dumpsey ripped off the government $8,000 worth of services within a period of what, 1 to 2 months? If you do the math, it's probably pretty much the same. If you shorten the time period, we don't know what happened. I know something happened. What it was, we'll have to wait and see. But one thing it certainly isn't, it's not me that did what Dumpsey did. Dumpsey did this. He loves to sit around and try to accuse everybody else of what he did. Dumpsey did what he did. He was the one running around here trying to flex with stolen money. It was just a matter of time before he got caught. And he wants to sit here and say it's over. He can't say if it's over. If you steal money, how can you say it's over? You stole, you stole. When are you going to convince yourself that it's never going to come back and bite you in the ass? It's not going to come back and bite you in the ass under one circumstance: you didn't steal the money. Only then you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder. Folks, we'll have to wait and see what happened. I will reemphasize, I believe in the source. The source is reliable. We don't have the warrant receipt. Dumpsey has the warrant receipt or receipts because according to the sources, they raided his house and they raided his office. Was I there? No. Do I believe it? Yes. If I had put money on it, I absolutely would put money to say it's true. You can believe whatever you want. We already have proof that he's clean, cold, busted. And I don't believe that's all he stole. I don't believe it. But folks, you know I got more coming your way. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.